The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, Bahamians in the United States nervously watching how Trump's new immigration policy will impact those without status, those looking to take advantage of birthright citizenship and other long-standing practices that are now scheduled to be cut. We speak with a Miami-based immigration attorney this evening. As we talk about the U.S.'s new immigration policy and the threat of mass deportations, what should the Bahamas' posture be? Local attorney and former Immigration Minister Branville McCartney joins me. Also tonight, teachers on the campus of CV Bethel fearful for their safety. As a result, they withdrew their services today. So what happened? And why are students who are a distraction to the learning process even allowed on campus? And a man connected to that U.S. indictment concerning senior police officers arraigned here in the Bahamas today. We have the latest on his charges. It's all straight ahead for you this evening. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, not wasting any time with his America and Americans First agenda, U.S. President Donald Trump, immediately after being sworn into office, signed over 100 executive orders, one of which Bahamians, like many other citizens illegally in the United States, are watching closely: immigration and the new laws that will soon apply. Areas like South Florida are known hubs for Bahamians, legal and illegal. And so tonight, a Miami-based immigration attorney who has many Bahamians as clients joins me to talk about just where they stand. Good evening to you, Ralph Kinall. Thank you very much for joining me here. Is he on camera? Hi. Hello to you. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. You represent many Bahamians in the Miami and South Florida area. What are their concerns this evening, and even since actually the 20th, 2 days ago, about the Trump administration's new executive orders?
Well, as has been stated in the media here, the president is implementing what many are referring to as a shock and awe approach to the first 48 hours in office. He has signed something like 200 executive orders, and so many of them are what many would agree are beyond the pale. One of the ones that have had a lot of coverage is this idea of ending birthright citizenship. Now, birthright citizenship is the idea that if you are born in the United States, you're entitled to U.S. citizenship. It's something that has been in existence since prior to the founding of the United States. But there are many on the right, the far right of the political spectrum, who believe that an argument can be brought to challenge the notion, to say that birthright citizenship was actually something that was put in the 14th Amendment of the United States for formerly enslaved peoples. Most mainstream attorneys and legal scholars believe that that is simply not the case. It is something that is more than likely not going to be successful at the Supreme Court level. But the real concern is that in addition to the birthright citizenship, the president has issued a number of orders, including such things as militarizing the border, building the wall, directing federal agencies to identify countries that do not provide sufficient information. So what this means on the ground for my Bahamian clients and many of my other clients of different nationalities is, number one, being very concerned about what's going to happen tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Are there going to be checkpoints? Are there going to be a requirement to present documents? Is there going to be a pathway to normalize and legalize? And we believe in the legal community that this strategy is really set to shake up the community, to force those who aren't in a position to stay for the long term to return home, and simply to make the process difficult. I've been in many conversations with attorneys where another thing we say is it's almost as if cruelty is the point. This president has come through with policies and procedures that seem to be so harsh that it doesn't even appear that they were well thought out. There was something called the CBP app. And for those people who are coming from countries and traveling across the Mexican border, there was a massive amount of people, and it was unruly. So the immigration services came up with an application that would sort of facilitate the process for people to apply in an orderly fashion. The president arbitrarily shut that down. So there were people at the border just a couple of days ago waiting to come in and present their arguments for asylum. And their one method for doing it was eliminated. So one of the things that we're going to begin doing is getting in contact with people within the communities and trying to begin helping them from wherever they are to begin the process.
Well, I know that you all have a lot, obviously, to iron out. Even these new laws, obviously, must be fleshed out further before they're enacted, I imagine. And you know, we can discuss and debate what you talked about in terms of the Mexican border and all that stuff, but let's just bring it back to Caribbean people, Bahamian people. The process to citizenship was sort of clearly defined, even though in the United States you just can't go there illegally and jump into the process of citizenship. We know that stands. But it's more difficult now. What are your illegal clients who've contacted you in the last few days saying to you about that and what their concerns are, and perhaps the fact that it's even more difficult?
Well, when the people would come to the United States and who are undocumented, or who had overstayed their lawful status in the United States. So there's a difference. There are some people who get a visa, they come to visit, and they stay for longer than the appointed period. There are some pathways for people like that, and one of those pathways is marriage to a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. Depending on if it's a U.S. citizen or permanent resident could affect the time that it takes, but that was a pathway. One of the things that is in discussion now is making that more difficult and imposing further penalties for people who overstay. With regard to people who are just simply undocumented, those are those people who arrive in the United States in some form or fashion, but they did not have a visa. There were policies in place that if they were in the United States for a certain period of time, there are different procedures like cancellation of removal, which is basically presenting to yourself to immigration after showing that you were in the United States for a period of between 7 and 10 years and seeking some sort of relief in that way. Those kinds of policies and programs are being retrenched. So many of those people who were here and have been here for many, many years in the hopes of finding changes in the law to allow them a pathway are very, very discouraged because the current administration has indicated by its actions that it does not want to provide additional pathways. And for those original pathways, we're going to be looking at increasing in prices, and we're also going to be looking at different ways that penalties could be increased to make what was in the past a fairly straightforward approach. If you overstayed, perhaps a parent or immediate relative or through marriage, you might be able to find a path, will be made more difficult.
And so, and that's another thing I want to talk about, because that was a path to residency or citizenship. If me, for example, I can apply for my sibling, I can apply for my parent, that's going to be scrutinized even more. I imagine this is what's being said. Now let's talk about what I understand is persons who are citizens can give birth, and obviously their kids will be citizens as well. But if you want a student visa, a visitor's visa, that kind of thing, I'll tell you this, Ralph, that right there discussion is something Bahamians can take you up on, because it appears every nation is now sort of zeroing in on that, where it's the illegal immigration. You come illegally and you give birth and you expect, you know, it's a lot that's happening in terms of that. But this is where this new law on one of the executive office orders in terms of immigration now stipulates that if you want a F1 visa, a B1 visa, your kid will not automatically gain citizenship.
So birthright citizenship, or citizenship through this concept of birthright, is viewed in two different ways. One of them is the idea of birth tourism. Now, there are many in the Caribbean who have had a long tradition of traveling to the United States on their visa and giving birth to children. There are whole communities of people throughout the Caribbean that can claim U.S. citizenship, not having spent a particular amount of time there. And this has been something that has been done for many, many years throughout the Caribbean and in many parts, from many countries in the world. This has gained additional scrutiny, and there are those in the United States community that are strongly opposed to that. And then there are those who, and this is much more often the case, just in a number sense, people of Mexican origin who cross into the United States undocumented, have children, and those children are considered to be what is derisively termed anchor babies. So you'll have someone who's undocumented, they get to the States, they have a child, they live in communities where there's a large number of undocumented people, and over a prolonged period of time, as their U.S.-born children reach the age of maturity, they then attempt to apply for them and seek to regularize their status. This current administration is trying to make a direct assault on that to prevent that from happening. One of the ways is to make it exceedingly difficult for undocumented people to reside in the United States by, requests for documents and deputizing local law enforcement to make those communities just harder to be in. And the other is to try to challenge the notion that being born in the United States just by virtue of birth would merit someone becoming a U.S. citizen. Now, as I mentioned at the initiation of this conversation, the idea of birthright citizenship is something that is fundamental to the United States. And those that are making the argument, many of us in the legal community believe that those arguments are specious at best. Let me just quote one of the initial languages, the language of the 14th Amendment. It says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, they're going to have to do a lot of work with just the plain reading of this language to knock out birthright citizenship, because the idea of being under the jurisdiction of the United States is something that we've all recognized to apply for everyone in the United States but diplomats, because of the notion of diplomatic immunity. A diplomat because of the benefit of and the privilege of diplomatic immunity, when they have children in another country, those children are clearly recognized as children of the nation from which they've originated. But an undocumented individual or an individual with a tourist visa is subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. There are things that a tourist can do that can cause them to lose their tourist status. There are actions that an undocumented individual can take that can cause them to be subject to criminal prosecution and actions of the government of the United States.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that right there, because another promise that President Trump has done is says, listen, every illegal criminal from another nation who is shown to have caused havoc and committed crimes in the United States will be deported. I want to know, and I imagine many of your clients are asking, and us in the Bahamas are also pondering this mass deportation that's threatened, is that going to include all illegals or just people who have broken the law?
The numbers that are suggested as far as cost to deport 11 to 15 million people are in the tens of billions of dollars. So mass deportations to these numbers are not realistic. And anyone who's going to have a sober conversation about that will acknowledge that. It's just, unless we are going to be completely and totally militarized, the ability to do that is not in our hands at this time. However, the heightened degree of rhetoric, the militarization, and the draconian measures taken by this president are being done in a manner to discourage continued migration and to promote self-deportation. What we're going to begin to see in the coming weeks are serious efforts to go after individuals with orders of deportation. We're going to see serious and draconian enforcement of undocumented aliens and those who have status who get involved in criminal activity. they will be far more aggressive and far less lenient for aliens in the United States in the coming years. But the idea here is to promote a lot of different things that will have a great difficulty going forward, but then using that to bring in things that are going to be a lot easier to get done. So, for example, creating completing the border wall, militarizing the border wall, and having increased surveillance on the border wall to prevent individuals from crossing in places like Texas. We're going to see that. Mm-hmm. We're going to see far stricter scrutiny at points of entry. So what we're going to begin to see is that when individuals are seeking to apply for tourist visas, there's going to be greater scrutiny on their arrival and departure, the time that they stay in the United States. There's going to be additional scrutiny on trying to determine what was done in the United States, because the idea here is to make it less hospitable. This is in the approach of the current administration, mm-hmm. for individuals who seek to come to the United States and circumvent the immigration laws as they currently are.
Meanwhile, as we wrap up this evening, what are you saying to your clients, especially those from the Caribbean, those the Bahamians who I'm sure have reached out to you for your professional advice?
What I'm saying is that if you were in a position to seek an immigration benefit, you should do so as soon as possible. What I would say to them is make sure that your documents are in order, those that are in your possession, and work together with your community and with the people who represent your community as we fight to protect ourselves and the wider community as we go through this period, because it's going to be tumultuous.
Well, we certainly, of course, will be watching from this end. The world will be watching, certainly. No doubt, many of these things will take some time to get into motion. But again, we'll be watching and paying close attention. Thank you very much, immigration attorney in the city of Miami, in the state of Florida, Ralph Kinol. Thank you very much for joining us here live on Beyond the Headlines this evening.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. When we come back, we're going to take a look at some of what he had to say, and also where do Bahamians stand? How do we feel about this very strong approach to sort of cleaning up America of illegals? I mean, after all, it's something that many Bahamians want to see happen locally. So we'll talk about that when we come back here on Beyond the Headlines. We're back right after this.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is now City of Hope, creating one of the leading cancer care and research networks from coast to coast, providing more of what you need. More locations means more care closer to home. More specialists means more expertise. More research means more breakthroughs. More advancements means more treatment options. And more options means more hope. Call now to get more of the care you need.
Are you ready? 2025. Keep the Bible Live Music Group present KB. Boy, you don't know me yet. It's KB. It's KB and Friends. The Boatman Show.
All you Rick and Scrape lovers out there, Saturday, February 1st, Keep the Bible Live Music Group invites you out to enjoy some Bahamian culture.
With Colette.
KB and Friends in concert, The Boatman Show.
Saturday, February 1st at the Farm, Marshall Road.
Can't wait to see you there.
The legendary KB and Friends. Your Sonic, Sweet Emily, plus Tino D, Colin McDonald, Irish Store in the Spank Man, The Falcons, Ancient Man, Mama D, Shine 242 and more.
KB and Friends in concert at the Farm, Saturday, February 1st.
Tickets on sale at the Beauty Shack. Low location, General 50, VIP 80. And for the Platinum fans, exclusive skyboxes are available. Gates open at 7 p.m. For more info, call ESC Distributors at 394-0819. Let's keep the vibe alive.
On behalf of the entire flight crew and Western Air, we hope that you enjoyed your flight and we look forward to serving you in the near future.
Comfort Suites Paradise Island is the best kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a Comfort Suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of Comfort Suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com.
If you enjoy watching Beyond the Headlines, take advantage of our exclusive offers with 4 15-minute interview segments at $1,200 and 20 30-second TV ads at $2,000. Contact 557-0258 or 557-0259 for more information. Go beyond with Beyond the Headlines.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. Of course, you saw in the first segment, we are continuing to monitor a lot of President Trump's more than 200 executive orders. Among those orders, really, that Bahamians are paying close attention to, several, in fact, because, you know, the mushrooming, the reverberations, but certainly immigration, the immigration policy. And so with that being said, you know, our leaders have talked about, Prime Minister Davis has been asked many times, what are you going to do if this mass, and when, particularly of the criminal element, mass deportations happen, which is more likely to happen versus all the other things. What are we going to do as Bahamians? And how are we going to absorb these people? And where are we going to put them? You know, it's so much to think about that. I'm happy, though, to have a former immigration minister here this evening who himself was quite tough on illegal immigration. Branville McCartney, it's good to have you here. Good evening to you. And, of course, joining me, Michael Turnquest. Hey, Michael. Michael Turnquest, the Other Headlines contributor. Thank you very much. Good evening to you, gentlemen.
Good evening, Shanique. Good evening, Bahamas.
Good evening.
Yes. Listen, I want to jump right in with you, Bran. You heard the attorney there, the immigration attorney in Miami, talking about, listen, this is a lot to number one, bite off, chew, and even try digest. It's a lot going on. He really appeared to have taken the tone of taking exception to a lot of stringent measures that are being proposed, not enforced as yet, but he certainly thinks that wall, that border wall will take place. But let's just bring it back to where we are, the region, the Bahamas, and the fact that, you know, there's going to be a crackdown of sorts on the illegal element in the United States, particularly those maybe who may have committed crimes.
Yeah.
And Trump's position on this.
Yeah, Trump's position is right in that regard, cracking down on illegal immigration and sending those persons back to the country where they're from. That's what we should do in this country. But as the American attorney said, it's going to be very, very difficult for repatriation because of the cost element, what have you, and really a lot of what the president is saying is shock and awe, trying to scare them into leaving, that sort of thing. We should take a page out of that book, though.
The shock and awe aspect.
The shock and awe, absolutely. Because where we are, we don't want to get to a position, I hope we're not in that position today, where we cannot repatriate because it's cost prohibitive.
Dude, don't you think we are kind of sort of there?
I think
to a certain extent we are, but we need to nip it in the bud and move in that vein. So what President Trump is doing in that regard, you know, if you, and like we've said and over repeatedly, if you're coming to a country, you have to come legally. If you are there illegally, you need to leave. And he's just putting it out there very strenuously and in the hopes that persons will leave.
Right.
The issue with the birth, denying the citizenship at birth, there's going to be some challenges with that because that's enshrined in the, I think, the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, he quoted that, but my thing is, so what? Because the thing is, we are arguing, Michael and Bran, as an attorney as well, so jump right back in. But Michael, we've been arguing for decades about that. So if you're born here, you are entitled to citizenship, versus in the United States, it seems to be automatic. But you could understand a nation who feels as though immigration has kind of outrun them, outpaced them, illegal immigrants, and then people they call it tourists. They call it many things. You heard the attorney in that interview said tourist birthright, meaning I come there, I might be born, I'm pregnant, I lay low until I give birth, my baby is a citizen.
Now remember, Shanique, I just had this conversation prior to coming to the show. You know, and we've gone through this sometime with, I don't know, it was a referendum. You know, Bahamian women, if you have a child with a foreign man, that child is not an automatic citizen of the Bahamas. A Bahamian man can have a child with a foreign woman, and that child is automatic a citizen. So we do not have on our books where as though you're born here, you're an automatic citizen. You know, which. We've been down that road a few times. Now, what I do sometimes find a challenge is when we find undocumented illegals having kids, and all of a sudden you see, they're in the paper now, citizenship being granted all throughout. I mean, we saw it the other day in the papers. I think it was Chinese. They were changing their last name of Davis.
We talked about that last night. Justin, if you guys have that, put that up again, because when you can go from Ming Ling, listen, Brian, I don't know if you saw this. When you can go from Ming, there it is right there. See it right there. When you can go from whatever that top name is, Ming Lee them, to talk about now your name is Cheryl Davis. That's a long stretch. What that about? And that's several of them Chinese doing that.
Where do we allow something like that to happen, right? I mean, what are we serious? And this is where the policy in terms of protecting as a president or a prime minister, your job is to protect your citizens and protect the Bahamas, whether that be from illegals, from the criminals of the illegality coming in. That's the job of a prime minister, job of the president. At the end of the day, you have to be humane about the way you do things. Yeah. And we do repatriations here, but at the same time, we have to protect the birthright of our citizens.
And the man is just doing, and you're right about that, because this, listen to me, we are in a election season, we know that, because the thing is, you've got to then protect, the man is protecting what's America and what's American. So therefore, what's Bahamas and what's Bahamian?
But we also sometimes, the other day I saw a video circulating of some Chinese above I don't know, it was a restaurant. But we have.
Justin, if you have that, because they were filing out in and out like ants.
But sometimes we get so caught up on a certain nationality, we forget the others. I mean, there seems to be a ton of Chinese nationals. I mean, I don't know if they're here legally or illegally, but they're taking on a lot of jobs that Bahamians could partake and work or be trained to work, whether it be cooks, chefs, things of that sort. But we have a vast array of issues here from various nationalities, just not Haitians coming in. It's widespread throughout the Bahamas, and that's something we need to address. And you need to ask the question: why is it that every Chinese that come here, they can open up a restaurant, wholesale liquor store, everything all in one?
And
most Bahamians can't get the same license.
And they make plenty money.
They make plenty money.
They make plenty money.
They're in an insulated community.
Oh yeah, they make plenty money.
It's a destructive habit because they go to certain areas, especially these inner city vulnerable areas,
and they buy up every building.
Once they sell rum and other vices.
And once they can live on top, once there's a building that allows them to live on top and shop underneath, or they buy those buildings all day, every day. This are the things that, the hustle, I wish a lot of our Bahamians take on the same mentality in terms of but at the end of the day, every time we see something like that happen, it's taking away from some of our kids who want to be vibrant in the community, whether it be, the inner city or outer city. The Chinese are coming in our inner city and taking over the whole.
Every nation needs its element or little demographic of sort of foreign injection and input. But the Bahamas, being as small as it is, has got to protect what is Bahamian and what is Bahamas. Because when you're going to see Ming Ling Ching go to becoming Cheryl Davis, Brian, what is that about? Is that something to pay attention to? Because yes, if you acquire citizenship, that's one thing. But why are you trying to change your entire identity? What are you running from? What's going on? Or what are you trying to assume?
Well, you see that notice that you posted just now? That's called really a notice of change of name. And that notice is out there, and the public can object to it if they have reason to object to it, right? You rarely see any objections.
Any objection? Because they don't pay attention.
You rarely see any objections. Right? That's why those things are posted.
How many how many of them read the papers every day? Because they don't pay attention to
That's
it.
exactly it.
But when these people now show up,
But if you put that on social media,
that's it. And when they show up to where it's typically Bahamian, and where it is sovereignly our rights to show up, and they start seeing these different shades and different features show up, and they're Bahamian as well, that's when people start rowing, and it's too late.
Yeah.
Shanique, I'll tell you a story back almost a decade ago. Man, I opened a franchise here in the Bahamas, and I wanted to only be able to sell beers. So I said, along with my restaurant license, I wanted to get not a bar, but a bar, I guess a liquor license to go along with it. I got the runaround, finally got denied. But now you go to I don't care where you go, any street you go on in the inner city, you could find a Chinese restaurant selling wholesale, I talk about, you name it, and they get it, no problem, every single one.
They have liquor licenses, and they are numbing the people around the area that they're walking around as drunks.
But it's like we're a nation for sale, we sell everything. Why should me as a Bahamian have to go and, I don't know, I wasn't asked many, but go and, I guess, dish out thousands of dollars for something that it should be a fair playing field across the board, which is not. And a lot of young Bahamians go through this over and over and over.
The bottom line is, I mean, it again, like anything else in government and running a country, it boils down to leadership and having the political will to do something about it. This conversation that we're having now, we've had this conversation 20 years ago.
Yes.
Nothing's
changed.
Done.
Nothing's been done.
It is really, quite frankly, exhausting, because we just chewing our lips up.
Yeah,
in vain.
But Brian, as a former Minister of Immigration, what are we to do to prepare? Because certainly the criminal element, the United States will attempt to get rid of and repatriate them wherever their origins are. And what should the Bahamas' position be, the government's position, to absorb people who may be just holding a Bahamian passport and not necessarily Bahamian?
Well, unfortunately, if they're holding a Bahamian passport, they're going to come here. And, we're going to have to deal with it. I certainly don't blame Trump for doing that. This is where they are, if they're holding a Bahamian passport, this is where their country is at the end of the day. What we need to,
but the issue that I have there is that a legitimate passport?
There's the video right there. Well, we know the fraud, but there's the video with the Chinese. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
Filing like aunts in and out of various doors in those buildings that they live on.
They look at it, just wake up like they're on the way for breakfast. I don't know what.
See, the bottom line is with whether it's a legitimate passport, that's not America's problem. That's our problem.
Very true.
That'll be our problem at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
And that leads to us doing the right thing, because they would have gotten the passport through the Bahamas, right? And we've seen recently persons getting these documentation, and so we need to be in a position where we are ensuring that
enforcing the
things are done correctly, right? And we will just have to deal with the backlash of those Bahamians who are in the United States illegally coming back here. We need to put in place now, in terms of if they put in place measures, especially if those persons over there are criminals, adding to our criminal population over here.
Absolutely.
We need to get serious with crime.
It's get serious with crime, but it's also enforcing the laws, because at the end of the day, you have a lot of things that go on in the Bahamas. Fraudulent documents, we get people a slap on the wrist. Forging, whatever type of documents it is. It's government official documents that we see over and over are forged, whether it be fake documents, things that I saw. Some people get fined, some people get 3 months probation or whatever it may be.
Now we saw recently, for the first time in many years, the Department and Ministry of Immigration levy fines to people who overstayed their visits. to people with in possession of fraudulent documents. And so we'll see if that continues and even increases now that the United States is intended on enforcing, to some extent, its new immigration policy.
But to me, forging a government document, that should be more than a fine.
I agree.
If we want to be serious about, where the people, if you're going to give me $1,000 fine, you can do it. People see people doing it over and over and over and over again. You need to give them, whether it be jail time, something needs to be something substantial. Mm-hmm. A $1,000 fine is nothing. If a person was able to go and pay a $10,000 for an illegal passport, you think paying a $1,000 fine is going to deter them from coming back and doing it again?
No. No, not whatsoever. Listen, of course, this immigration discussion and argument, as has been for decades, will continue, particularly now that it's front and center again. The United States is just more vocal with it. Every nation is doing something about their immigration issue because the citizens have had enough. And the citizens, the authentic citizens then of these nations, whether it's Europe, whether it's this part of the world, they are screaming as well to listen, man, get rid of some of these people. It's too much. And so we will continue to watch what happens in the United States. Of course, Donald Trump is just new into his term, just sworn in on Monday, and we will see exactly how that plays out. But when we come back, we're going to shift gears. We're going to look at what happened on the campus of Anatole Rogers and also a very important court arraignment today. We'll talk about that right after this break.
What? You don't know what TDC is? Tourism Development Corporation?
You mean the Ministry of Tourism?
No, that ain't the same thing, buddy. The Tourism Development Corporation helps develop and grow Bahamian businesses in the tourism industry. You hear what they say, boy?
Oh, yeah.
Develop and grow. You don't know what all the things saying do?
What does do?
Wait, check the website, boy.
Start your journey to ownership of our #1 industry today. Log on to tdcbahamas.com.
Bahamas, are you ready? 2025. Keep the Bible Live Music Group present KB. Boy, you don't know me yet.
What's KB?
It's KB and Friends, the Boatman Show.
All you Rake and Scrape lovers out there, Saturday, February 1st, Keep the Bible Live Music Group invites you out to enjoy some Bahamian culture.
With Collect.
KB and Friends in concert, the Boatman Show.
Saturday, February 1st at the Farm, Marshall Road.
Can't wait to see you there.
The legendary KB and Friends. Just added Sweet Emily, plus Tino D, Colin McDonald, Irish Store in the Spank Band, the Falcons, Ancient Man, Mama D, Shine 242 and more.
KB and Friends in concert at the Farm, Saturday, February 1st.
Tickets on sale at the Beauty Shack. Low location, General 50, VIP 80. And for the Platinum fans, exclusive skyboxes are available. Gates open at 7 p.m. For more info, call ESC Distributors at 394-0819. Let's keep the Bible alive.
It's the most luckiest time of the year. There'll be things that are spinning and cash prizes winning. Just Big Bang is here. It's the most luckiest time. Yes, the most luckiest time. Oh, the most luckiest time of the year.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Island Luck.
Time of the year.
This new year, EV Motors is starting the year off strong with incredible savings on brand new electric vehicles. Charge into the new year with 0 emissions and endless savings during our New Year clearance sale, where you can drive into 2025 with one of our brand new EVs at discounted prices. And that's not all. Take advantage of a special financing offer with CIBC Caribbean with a 4.5% interest rate and up to 10 years to repay. But hurry, the clock's ticking, and these deals won't last long. With our diverse selection, there's an EV here for everyone. Get the BYD Seagull Plus for as low as $258.43 per month. The Toyota BZ4X for as low as $512.91 per month. The BYD One Plus for as low as $392.79 per month. The BYD Song Plus for as low as $518 per month. The BYD Tank Plus for as low as $725.46 per month. The Mercedes-Benz for as low as $725.46 per month. The BMW iX3 for as low as $725.46 per month. The Carry Cargo Van for as low as $351.33 per month. And the Carry Elephant X7 truck for as low as $393.72 per month. Enjoy unbeatable clearance prices with our New Year clearance sale. Terms and conditions apply. Prices are VAT exclusive. It's the EV Motors New Year clearance sale. Call or visit us today to secure your brand new EV.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
If you enjoy watching Beyond the Headlines, take advantage of our exclusive offers with 4 15-minute interview segments at $1,200 and 20 30-second TV ads at $2,000. Contact 557-0258 or 557-0259 for more information. Go beyond with Beyond the Headlines.
This segment of Beyond the Headlines is brought to you by EV Motors. Drive the future with brand new 2024 electric vehicles. EV Motors, powering your journey.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you join us. Hope that you are enjoying the show. Of course, we started the top of the show talking immigration matters and, of course, Trump's new immigration policy. Guys, can you go up on the TP, please, and what that means for the Bahamas? Many nations are paying attention because, of course, he has vowed that there will be mass deportations. So we will continue to watch that. But let's just move along this evening. Of course, we saw that there was an arraignment. TP, what about there? Who? There was a court arraignment involving the shooting. Remember that happened. Go up again. Go up, please. An alleged drug trafficker whose name appeared as a defendant in a United States Supreme Court indictment last year, Donald Frederick Ferguson II, felt the full weight of the law today as he was formally charged with a slew of serious crimes, including murder. Linton Ritchie Jr. has the story.
And as a family, we just want to say to God be all the glory. So
Yes,
all the glory. And he's more than a conqueror.
Relatives mustering the strength to say justice is beginning to be served, fighting back tears after an alleged drug trafficker accused of killing their loved one was finally hauled before the courts 7 months after Jeffrey Giovanni Roll was fatally shot.
From the outset, we've said all we ever wanted is for the justice system to work.
The sole suspect, 26-year-old Donald Frederick Ferguson II, was arrested at the domestic terminal of Lynden Pinland International Airport just hours after the brazen Father's Day murder. The Royal Bahamas Police Force's Airport Division, led at the time by Chief Superintendent Elvis Curtis, is credited with making that arrest. But Ferguson II was released just hours later, leaving the case to grow cold until a United States indictment linked both Ferguson II and Curtis to an international drug operation. In court today, Chief Magistrate Roberto Reckley formally charged Ferguson II with murder. Outside the courtroom, Rule's family shared emotional words about their long-awaited day of justice.
While we know no legal proceeding can bring back what we've lost, we count this as a significant step towards our journey of justice.
But that murder charge is just the tip of the iceberg. Ferguson is also facing 6 drug charges stemming from a $15 million drug bust last year. Police seized tons of narcotics after a plane crash landed on Auckland. Eyewitness News understands that Ferguson II was the alleged pilot of that aircraft. The indictment, however, labeled Ferguson II as a Bahamian pilot who carries drug proceeds typically by air. Ferguson racked up 6 charges, 1 count of conspiracy to possess Indian hemp with intent to supply, 1 count of conspiracy to possess cocaine with intent to supply, 1 count of conspiracy to import Indian hemp, 1 count of conspiracy to import cocaine, 1 count of abetment to importation of Indian hemp, and 1 count of abetment to importation of cocaine. Ferguson II was denied bail and remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services until April 17th, when he will be presented with a voluntary bill of indictment. As for the murder charge, that case will also proceed by way of VBI on May 8th, with the pieces of the case against Giovanni Roll's alleged killer finally coming together. His family is determined to see justice through.
We know that we have a long road ahead. This is, like I said, a significant step, but there's a long road ahead. We love our brother, and we will continue to love him, and we will continue to fight for justice for him.
I tell you, the matter is now a court matter, and so, gentlemen, just to say really that family has a bit of closure that they can move forward. I spoke with the family, and they said that obviously they will watch as this process, meaning the trial, as it begins, and then as it plays out for their brother to get some justice and the family to get justice. Yeah, so
I'm happy for them.
Yeah, they're very happy as well, emotional, but you saw that. Let's just move on to this. A parent is speaking out tonight after she says her daughter was wrongfully criticized by the Bahamas Union of Teachers. This, as its executives say, the daughter threatened one of their own, meaning a teacher, while using cuss words in the process. It's a story Jose Etienne was following all day long, and we get the latest.
She proceeded to jump over the administrator that is over her head and slap my daughter in the mouth, hold her by the throat, and slap her up in her mouth.
Natasha Charles shared her side of the story with Eyewitness News, insisting that her daughter was being harassed by the teacher in question.
She's like, "You are a coward." I said, "You're a coward." So my daughter said again, "I am not a coward. Stop calling me a coward." She said, "You know what? You take off your glasses. I will take off mine. Come and step to me."
She admits, though, that her daughter responded with a few choice words.
My daughter said to her, "Get your pee out my face, please."
According to Charles, her daughter, who was already suspended for her involvement in a previous fight on campus, was the victim of continuous taunts by the teacher. She spoke to Eyewitness News moments before news time following a meeting with school and district executives. She also criticized the narrative being pushed by the Bahamas Teachers Union, claiming that it paints her daughter in a negative light.
Not only did she threaten the teacher, but she also cursed her about her private parts. She had to be restrained from trying to attack the teacher.
At the school today, we found teachers huddling outside the compound. The teacher involved in the incident was among them, but she was not identified to us. Bahamas Teachers Union Vice President Vernon Rogers was also on scene and spoke to Eyewitness News, pointing to gang violence as the root of the problem. He claims that gang activity has placed the school in a chokehold and often leaves teachers as targets.
The gangs is taking over the school. We have boys and girls gangs in the school. The kids are threatening teachers, getting in altercations, not with just themselves, but with the teachers, using extreme profanity, using their parents as weapons to harm teachers.
Rogers also expressed frustration, saying teachers' concerns continue to fall on deaf ears.
I think the principal lacks the leadership. I don't think she's listening to her teachers. The teachers are here to work. But if the kids don't want to learn, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stand there. I'm going to allow kids to emotionally bring me down, tear me down, curse me out.
Well, gentlemen, when did CV Bethel become a hostile environment? I remember that being one of the more outstanding senior high schools in the public school system. We heard the mother's account. We heard the teacher's account. Certainly something obviously went off center there.
Shanique, you know, we've seen a lot of incidents happen through a lot of the government schools as of late, and we said, you know, something, for some reason it seems as though children are not attending schools anymore. So we have some, I say some animals, and we have some who believe they are, you know, gang members, whatever it may be. But, you know, we have to be, you know, I commend our teachers for what they're dealing with in this today.
No, it's a different environment entirely.
It's a totally different environment. And, and I see the gentleman, saying what they're dealing with. And you need, in these schools now, you need real leadership in order to get the results that we're looking for, whether it be in the BGCSEs, things of that sort. But we're not teaching kids anymore. These kids that they're dealing with today, they feel as though they've already experienced everything through life, and they've arrived, and it's the outcome that we're seeing today, and then the parents are mostly to blame, because they're not bringing up children anymore. They're exposing these kids to
the children are bringing up the parents.
Yeah, what's concerning though is the issue that was said. I don't know if it relates to that particular incident that was shown on just now, but about gangs in the schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, look, we can't be playing with this. We can't be playing with situations like this. We got to nip this in the bud. We have gangs out there, but when you have gangs, these young people, they obviously under the age of, for the most part, I would imagine under the age of 18, and they are part of gangs, and they bringing that into the schools. Mm-hmm. Well, but we need to you need to take a strong arm in dealing with that.
Well, principals are not empowered anymore to be strong. And then if females cannot be principals and rule with an iron fist on a campus, they need not fill the position.
Absolutely. You need to, look here, they need to, the principals need to be empowered to deal with that.
But you have
and because that will continue to mushroom. And we talk about, we just put some new laws in about about gangs and how we deal with gangs. Well, I think it has to be extended into the classroom as well, and into the schools, and empowering these principals to do something about it.
And teachers as well, because corporal punishment has been removed. Yeah, okay, fine. But then there must be something to substitute. You can't sit there and allow kids to run wild and then would a teacher just up an assault? Well, if that is the case, then he or she doesn't need to be in the classroom. But certainly principals have got to be empowered, because if you also, I think on that same school campus, there was a huge fight with two boys. I mean, and it took the might of God and every male teacher, including senior masters and senior staff, to somehow restrain both boys, keep one locked up in a classroom and keep the other one there, and they are fighting and cussing and pushing those teachers, saying, let me alone, let me get at effing him. Yes. And this is the stuff that happens now on school camp. Listen, get rid of the rat race on these school campuses. Put these children in the back part of someplace and let the grades and the national GPA of the Bahamas that's still hovering around F somewhere, that's still hovering, get them from being a distraction and get on with the business of education.
Clean it up. Listen, and don't play around.
Don't play around with this.
Put these kids in some particular school.
Exactly. Find somewhere for them to go.
Disciplinary school. If they can't behave themselves in normal school, take them out. If you put them somewhere where they can be disciplined.
But it's so easy to
tell. Not a distraction.
It's so easy to tell who they are. If you stand in the front of any government school in the morning, you can tell every child who's coming to actually get an education and who is just coming to do BS all day. They got some of them walking with the bag so small, no way in the world they get buck pants and everything inside that. Then you get some of the girls, they look as though they might have just be some hoochie. Come on, man. We gotta be serious.
Lashes and nails. That's what they major in now in high school.
When you saw, I think it was Doris Johnson, they had put something in the paper in terms of this year we're not condoning this in terms of how you come to school.
Where is that, by the way? Did anybody follow up?
I don't know if that's
because they say no lashes. No, I bet they, man. I understand the boys showing up at lashes and nails. I tell you, you know what? That's tomorrow night show. I tell you the truth. I'm so tired. I just. Listen to me. Listen. Glenna Hannah Martin, any BUT, whomever else it is, get serious on these school campuses. Empower these principals. If women cannot do it, get them out. If they ain't fit and exercising and could go and make things happen and sitting on there looking, they don't belong there as no principal. get some strong people in there, have a strong arm, and take back control of these school campuses.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what needs to happen, because these children dumb,
Absolutely.
and they can't be employed nowhere.
Absolutely.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Thank you.
I thank, of course,
Thank you very much.
our guest at the top of tonight's show, U.S. Attorney Ralph Kennall. Thank you very much as well, joining us live from Miami this evening. And of course, gentlemen, thank you both very much. I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening. Certainly enjoyed being here with you. Looking forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.